Get out of here. Okay, hang on. We're kind of rolling it. All right. Hey, Pocket, get out of the camera. Scoot. This way. Yeah, good girl. Okay, so a rolling hitch. This is one of my favorite knots. This is what it looks like when it's tied. And what you got is a loop at the end, which looks very similar to like what you might use a bowline to do, is to create this loop at the end. But unlike a bowline, which is going to create a fixed size loop, which is very nice in certain applications, the rolling hitch is adjustable, right? So you're like, well, okay, so that's just going to create a really tight loop on whatever it's tied around, right? No. See, look, if I pull hard, it doesn't slide. It will slide if I adjust it. If I push the knot along the line, it's very easy to change the size of this loop. But once it's set, it doesn't want to pull. See, the knot itself does not want to be pulled with parallel to the line that it's tied to. So when it's pulled by the line, it doesn't move, and when you slide it, it moves very easily. So the benefit of that in this particular configuration, I'll go over another one in just a second, but the benefit is that let's say you're tying out a tent, you know, and you've got a tent stake that you're going to bring that line out to, right? So you get it around the tent stake, and now you want to tension the line to the like the rain fly on your tent or something. So once it's around there, you can make it bigger until that line gets just the right length and nice and short, and you've properly tensioned your tent fly. Now, if you've bought a tent in the last 15 years, it probably came with like these little plastic sliders along the guy lines for the rain fly and for any other part of it, any line that you might need to tension on the tent. And all those plastic sliders are synthetic rolling hitches. They just do exactly the same thing that the rolling hitch does, except that they can fail, they can break, and they cost money, and they add weight to your back. So you can replace every one of those with a rolling hitch. Now, let's look at how to tie this thing, and we'll go over another use case for it. So I'm going to tie it on this black and blue line here. It usually works better if you're tying it to a line that's a thicker diameter than the line that you're tying to it. These are pretty similar, but as you just saw, I tied it to itself. It works pretty well on its on the same diameter. So here on this black and blue line, which happens to be my main halyard, it is cleated off in a clutch going that way, and the other end of it is secured to the boat, so this line shouldn't be moving anywhere. But let's say this was a jib sheet, and that jib sheet was bound up in an override. It was fouled in an override on a winch. All right, so now it's under just extreme load, it's bound up, and you have to be able to somehow relieve the load of the line from the winch so you can work out that override. And the only way to do that, maybe there's another way, the only way I know how to do that is to tie a rolling hitch to it and lead this line with the rolling hitch to another winch to take the load off of the winch that you're trying to solve the problem on. So this is how that looks. This is how the rolling hitch goes. So you're going to wrap your first line around it 2 times, basically like that. That's like a full round turn. Well, that would be a round turn. This is like 1.5 round turns. Is that in frame? Yeah, it's in frame. Let's get a little bit closer here. There we go. Can't see me, but you can see the knot. All right. So there's your rolling hitch, right? And that's the beginning of it. So 2 times around going, let's say going this way, I'll call that up, going up the line. And then you're going to do 1 more wrap below where you started. You started right here. So that's where you started. Go 1, 2 up, and then go 1 below, and to tuck that tail under itself. See that? It looks an awful lot like a clove hitch, doesn't it? Except it's got an extra wrap in there. But just with that extra wrap, it starts behaving very, very differently. It's going to start gripping very, very well. You see this? If I pull it parallel to the line that it's tied to, it doesn't want to go anywhere. grabs that line and holds tight. But if I need to position it somewhere, let's say I'm using this line to pull this line this direction, and it's working that way a little bit. So then I can slide it up and it'll just grab again right there. But look how easy it is to move along the line. I can put it anywhere I want. How cool is that, huh? All right, so you could use this to fix a really nasty override on a winch, like with a jib sheet typically. All right, so there's your rolling hitch. Now one other maybe less serious application of it, but just as useful, well, maybe something, you know, less important though, is I like to use a rolling hitch to like hang a lantern from my backstay. So I can hang a light on my backstay, which is almost, you know, it's like 20 degrees off vertical or something, but it's like a near vertical wire going straight up. But I can just tie a rolling hitch around it, tie the other end of this line to, that's not a real rolling hitch, I just did that quick. Tie the other end of the line to the lantern, and then I can just slide this right up the backstay, and suddenly I have a point of purchase on the backstay. In fact, check this out. I have a rolling hitch on one of my guy lines. Let's see. I use these things all over the boat. They're like really one of my favorite. So what is this line doing here? But there's another rolling hitch that I have it tied off to one of my shrouds. And this line, you know, all I'm doing, I'm just securing the tail of this line here. It's just a way to get that line to just hang out right there. Let's see what else. I can use it on flag halyards. Well, oh yeah, look. So this is just you see this here? There's just a short line tied off to my lower aft shroud, and it just goes from here to here. It's very short, it's like 1.5 feet. But what I use this line for is to tie out with one end my halyards here. So if my halyards are slapping, sounds like that, nobody likes that, especially me, then I just grab one end of this line, I untie it, I run it over to the shroud, over to the halyard, around the halyard and back over to the shroud here. And that just ties it out. Some people use like shock cords or bungee cords for that. And I just use a bit of static line here, but I secure it. It's just stowed on the shroud here. This is just where it lives when I'm not using it to stop the halyards from slapping. And what knot do I use to secure it to the shroud but a rolling hitch, because I can just tie it up anywhere I want, a little slack, and then I just tighten it up. You see that? I just tighten up by sliding it down, and it pretty much just stays there. Now, if it's like getting loaded and unloaded, constantly slapping around, those rolling hitches will work themselves out. It's really designed to have just a constant static load to it. All right, well that's it. That's 8.5 minutes already on this video. We're gonna leave it there. Thanks for watching. Hope you all are doing well. Bye.